is Valley News Live at 4.
Good afternoon and happy Friday, everyone. North Dakota Highway Patrol is urging you to drive with caution today, warning that these strong winds can make for difficult travel. Semis and trucks or campers have restricted travel today, meaning if you're driving one, you may need to go a little slower than you're used to because of federal regulations. To check on the restrictions in your area, go to travel.nd.gov. More than 1,000 goats and a litter of puppies have died after a big fire in Otter Tail County today. Multiple fire departments responded to that call around 10 this morning. It happened northeast of Henning, and crews spent hours battling the blaze. Our crew on the scene said large goat barn was fully engulfed when firefighters arrived. The barn, a shed, and milking parlor were all destroyed by that fire. The Otter Tail County Sheriff's Office is investigating the cause with help from the state fire marshal. Last night's storms caused a lot of damage around the region. This is video from Battle Lake, Minnesota. The Otter Tail County Sheriff's Office says this morning they've been responding to a number of calls regarding property damage, including trees down on power lines and on roads. Someone was also hurt when their mobile home flipped. People across the Southern Valley are left picking up the pieces too. Dozens of trees were ripped from the ground in Wahpeton, damaging buildings and vehicles. Grain bins were damaged and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts tore the roof off an apartment building. Those residents have been able to return today. People in town say they're just glad no one was hurt, but it's going to be all hands on deck to get the town cleaned up. Now let's go to Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson for a look at hopefully some quieter weather. Hutch?
Oh, Stacy, it's definitely quieter as far as precipitation goes, but that air sure is in a hurry today. That's what makes wind when that air wants to move around. That's exactly what it's doing. Check out the latest gust report, Grand Forks, 55 miles per hour. That's over the speed limit for air molecules in my book. That's fast wind, and we've had very strong gusts today, and these are going to continue at least through sunset, so expect some very windy weather tonight. We do have some scattered showers, Devil's Lake Basin, and yes, it's kind of a soggy day there. We're cool and gusty. The last 2 days, Wednesday, first alert weather day, and again on Thursday, caused some severe storms to move through and dump locally heavy rain. All of these areas out here in central Minnesota, that goes into other river basins, but for our area, well, Lakes Country picking up 1 to 3 inches. Over here, the Cheyenne River Valley and James River Valley picking up quite a bit, and big winners were north of Grand Forks. 2 to 5 inches estimated by radar. Has a Snake River at a record level. It's going to be going down, but we do have river issues of Oslo rising once again, extending the period of time that we are at these high levels. We'll keep you posted on that. You can get the latest at valleynewslive.com. I have good news for the weekend forecast, and we'll go over that here in a moment.
Yeah, we'll take some good news. Thanks, Hutch. The Twin Cities metro area was hit 2 days in a row with damaging storms. Jeff Wagner tells us why homeowners cleaning up storm damage in their yards are having a hard time finding professional help.
My dad started calling people legit right when he saw his car.
As if the headache of seeing your car crushed beneath a tree wasn't enough, Richard Hammond's family has to endure the painful sight for who knows how long.
I think they were saying sometime like in a couple of days, maybe like a week.
Up to a week?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 days.
While that surprised us, it came as no surprise to tree removal companies hauling storm debris out to Ceres Mulch in Brooklyn Park.
Got a few calls last night and a bunch this morning. So far we're tallied at 23 calls, and we're just a small company.
Bill Van Zee of Two Guys and a Saw knew they'd be busy Thursday, but still.
It's a lot more than we expected.
You can always try to get rid of that storm debris in your yard waste collection bin. Just be careful about the size.
Ceres Mulch is one of 6 sites in Hennepin County where homeowners can drop off yard waste, but you'll be charged depending on the size of your load. Hammond's plans to clear the small pieces of the tree that fell in his yard, but he knows it's going to take a professional's help to get it finished, whenever that might be.
We just want to get it cleaned up as fast as possible.
And a reminder, when you're clearing debris in your yard, check your storm drain along the curb. Clearing these drains can help prevent flash flooding on your street the next time it rains. The emergency manager in Kandiyohi County is confirming 1 person was killed yesterday when a grain bin fell in a car, which is about 20 miles south of Wilmar. This video is from Wilmar, where high winds and heavy rain toppled a lot of trees. We have new information on a Fargo man who was last seen in Arkansas back in March. Authorities have now confirmed that Jordan Simeon's body was found. His identity was confirmed yesterday. We spoke to Simeon's sister a couple months ago, who said he was heading to New Orleans to start a new life. She last heard that he was waiting for a tow truck after his car broke down. She also said he suffered from Huntington disease, which made him a vulnerable adult. The cause of death has not been released. New information on a death in Mahnomen County. The man who was killed in a crash yesterday is 68-year-old David Charles Sokolek. The crash happened just east of Waubun. Investigators say he left the highway, struck a guardrail, and entered a pond. He was not wearing a seatbelt. A top U.S. military leader spoke with his Russian counterpart today for the first time since Russia invaded Ukraine. The conversation comes as Ukraine says Russia has suffered heavy losses in the eastern part of Ukraine. Skylar Henry has the latest from Washington.
A humanitarian center in the Kharkiv region of Ukraine lay in ruins following an overnight strike. Officials say the center contained supplies for civilians in the area. Elsewhere, Ukrainian officials say their forces stopped Russian troops from crossing a river in the Donbas region. They say this footage shows a damaged bridge and several destroyed Russian military vehicles.
They're putting up a very stiff resistance in the Donbas and in the south. They have prevented the Russians from achieving virtually any of their strategic objectives thus far in the war.
With Ukraine's defense minister acknowledging there is no swift end to the war in sight, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin spoke with his Russian counterpart today for the first time since the invasion.
The Secretary urged an end to the conflict in Ukraine, and he emphasized the importance of maintaining communication.
Also Friday, Ukrainian authorities began the first war crimes trial of the conflict. A 21-year-old captured Russian soldier is accused of fatally shooting an unarmed civilian in the early days of the war. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
A day after Finland announced plans to join NATO, with Sweden expected to follow suit, NATO member Turkey indicated it is not in favor of the idea, citing the Nordic countries' alleged support of terrorist organizations. In a phone call this morning with the leaders of Sweden and Finland, President Biden said he supported NATO's open door policy and the country's right to determine their own future. Mayors, police chiefs, and other local officials were invited to the White House today to share with President Biden how they are spending money from the $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package on policing and public safety programs. The president has been under pressure from Republicans and others to bring down violent crime across the country. It's one issue among many that could complicate his party's chances of retaining control of Congress in the November midterms. Following the killings of several black Americans by law enforcement, some Democrats and civil rights activists have urged cutting police budgets. Republican lawmakers have criticized the president amid rising violent crime, even though the president has said he believes the police need the money. On Capitol Hill, the House Select Committee investigating the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol has now subpoenaed House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and 4 other Republican lawmakers. The panel wants to speak to them about the events surrounding the January 6th insurrection. The committee has its sights on 5 Republican congressmen, each of whom has refused to appear voluntarily. McCarthy says the current investigation is not legitimate. The committee acknowledges these subpoenas mark an unprecedented moment.
An attempted coup and a violent insurrection at the Capitol interrupting the peaceful transfer of power are unprecedented events.
All 5 congressmen have criticized the subpoena and called the committee polarized, with 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans. The committee hasn't indicated what happens if these congressmen defy the subpoena, whether they'll be referred for contempt of Congress prosecution. The committee has its first hearing set for June 9th, with the final report likely weeks later. We're just hours away from the unofficial beginning of summer, especially true for those who love to cast a line. Many times the fishing opener coincides with Mother's Day, but this year it's a little later because Minnesota state law requires the opener to be 2 weeks before Memorial Day. The opener is when anglers can start fishing for walleye, northern pike, trout, and in some parts of the state, bass. The season for sunfish, perch, channel catfish is always open. The weather is expected to be nicer this weekend, so how about joining others in accepting our garbage bag challenge? Just grab a bag, head outside, and fill it with trash. You'll be surprised to find out how easy it is, especially after a windy day like today. When you're all done, take a selfie or have someone take your photo. Go to our website, then at valleynewslive.com, and click on the Garbage Bag Challenge tab near the top to submit it. Straight ahead, a look at the damage from last night's storms did in South Dakota.
And we had gusty straight line winds in our area that were very close to 100 miles per hour out in Verndale Lakes country, getting hit hard as well. Today, non-thunderstorm related gusts that hit 60 plus miles per hour for some. Your hour-by-hour forecast shows a little more wind and a little more rain. Details are coming up right after this.